Welcome to the Unexpected Parenting Podcast. I'm Carrie. This is a place for real conversations, support, and encouragement for those families navigating the special needs parenting and beyond. I'm so happy you're here with us today. Today, I'd like to welcome Kate to our podcast and have her tell us a little bit about your family and what your life has been like with special needs.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, first of all. And I am, let's see, I have, we have 8 kids. So we're kind of a mixed family because we have his and hers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 6 boys and 2 daughters.
Wow.
So, and their age ranges, my oldest daughter just going to turn 40 this year. And then our youngest 2 are 20. So we have about a 20-year gap between our oldest and our
Yeah.
youngest, which is, but it's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like my older kids, very neurotypical and did well in school. And so when William came along, we really didn't know kind of what was going on. Now, the interesting thing about cute William is when he was about 18 months old, we noticed he wasn't talking quite as well as our other kids had been at that age or really babbling well. He was pretty silent. So we kind of started to have some concerns. And honestly, we were like, maybe he's just a little slow going. And when I had my last child, we actually adopted one at the same time. So we have 2 that are 3 weeks apart
Okay.
that are about 18 months younger than William. And this was kind of an interesting time. So I would say probably I might not have been quite as attentive
Uh-huh.
as I might have otherwise been to some of the signs. And so when he was 3, that's when we really started to notice, gosh, he's just not talking.
Mm-hmm.
He would get kind of loud when he had a need rather than just being able to verbalize what he needed. And so that's when we started thinking, something's kind of
Little off.
off here.
Mhm.
And of
So I think a
course,
lot of parents are at that
oh,
stage, right?
yeah,
Like when they don't start keeping up with their peers and other children that you've raised. That's when I feel like we really start noticing it a lot of times.
right. And I think part of it was my adopted child. It was kind of the furthest along of the 3 of them.
Mhm.
And he was already talking, walking, and doing all of the very typical things. And I think it made it more obvious to me. Maybe
Yeah,
I had, but so we jumped in on some early intervention, which I strongly recommend. I
I
mean,
agree.
don't wait. I mean, I remember people are like, well, don't get him labeled or diagnosed.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, if he isn't autistic, then okay,
Okay.
he'll grow out of it. But
Right.
if he is, I really wanted to have all the opportunities,
Exactly.
all the early intervention, because just data shows that really is the game changer.
I agree. It really does. And it's so helpful to get them started early, especially if they have speech delays or fine motor, gross motor, because that's when it's developing. And we really need to increase that while we have the opportunity.
And there's so many beautiful programs.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, there are.
sometimes if you don't know for sure, reach out to your local school district. But there's also like through Kids Who Count in Utah
Hmm.
County, which is
Yeah.
super helpful. They
Right.
were actually who we reached out
Hmm.
to.
They helped with Austin too
So,
in the early
yeah.
stages.
And they're so great. They come to your house, so you're not dragging especially because I had 3 little. So
Right.
I'm like dragging them
Dragging them
all
all
to the
there.
center and trying to work
Hmm.
things out. And he did need some socialization later on, so we could
Right.
go to the center. But at the beginning, speech therapy came, and physical therapy came, occupational therapy came, and it was just wonderful for us. And of course, that was all free to us,
Hmm.
which is super helpful for parents who are
Yeah.
trying to navigate it because it could get really expensive if you're trying to do that through your health insurance or through private.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
So about the same time, I think was when Kendrick turned 18 months. He was having some really weird things. Like he didn't walk very well, and when he fell over, he didn't plop like a typical child. He would actually kind of fall over more like timber style, but like
Oh,
a
uh-huh.
tree. And so we took him into the pediatrician, and they're like, yeah, this is something we probably need to look at. So we went to a neurologist and discovered that he had a tumor on his optic nerve.
Okay.
And so, yeah, within about 3 weeks, we were doing chemo, and
Mhm.
our life kind of got turned upside down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
sadly, in some ways, even though I had older, very helpful children, William's issues maybe got put on the back burner a little bit.
Mhm.
So,
Sometimes that happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Kendrick had, by the time, we had discovered it, he had lost about 50% of his central vision, but he's actually pretty functional. I
Mhm.
mean, the
Yeah.
brain's
It
magical.
is pretty magical how it
Yeah.
repairs and can pick up the slack of a different part of the brain, another part picks up. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It's really incredible.
Mhm.
And so even though he has central vision lost like 50% in the left eye, he uses a lot of we call it head bobbing, and you don't even notice it unless you're like really looking for
Right?
it. But it fills in kind of that blank spot, which is
Mhm.
pretty miraculous.
It is.
So kind of at the end of chemo, William was getting close to 5 by then.
Mhm.
He really had maybe 20 words, mom, dad, but a lot of mostly yelling. And
Mhm.
so we were like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's when we finally went and got a diagnosis and
Uh-huh.
like, okay, we've really got to have some help. The district was wonderful. IEP process was pretty good. And here's the thing, ask a million questions. Don't just say, okay, okay, okay,
Right?
and just accept,
Right?
because there are so many possible services out there that you can ask for. And
Yes.
as a parent, feel like that's your right.
Yes.
It is your right to ask, like, I need help. What does that look like?
Mm.
And it might not all be through the school, although we had great success through the school.
Mhm.
We did have to do some things privately too.
Right.
So again, like at 5 years old, he had almost no words. We actually went to a speech therapist who helped him with sign language.
Okay.
And that was a game changer. Just the I
Yes.
want a was a game changer for
Right.
us.
Game changer, like, that it's not only he has to learn it, you had to learn it too, to be
Yeah.
able to communicate with him.
Yeah.
And that's hard too. And older children in the family. I remember Austin with some speech delays. Like, there's a lot of times, like, even today, sometimes he'll say things and I'm like, what are you saying? And my girls will know what he's saying because they just don't read so much into it when they were kids.
Right.
They could just figure out what he was
And
saying.
they could
They could
listen.
listen
They had
and
the
yeah. And
nuance.
so now that they're all adults, they still sometimes can understand what he's saying better than I can.
Isn't that
It
interesting?
is interesting.
Yeah. I'd say one of my happiest memory was watching my 6 boys all on couches around William doing signing time. I love the signing time videos. They were
Yes.
wonderful. And they were all doing, I just still see him doing the ring song. And
I love that.
it was so much fun to watch
Yes.
my kids embrace what he needed.
What he needed,
So,
right. And it's pretty amazing what resilience our other children have and what siblings do for their special needs sibling. Yeah.
yes. And I'm sure,
It's not
now
easy.
well, now that my kids are older,
Mhm.
sometimes because William has pretty pronounced echolalia, which if there's a movie that he sees, particularly Star Wars, he spends a lot of time in the movie. And
Mhm.
so my older kids now, sometimes they forget that he's still about 8, even
Yes,
though he's
mine
in
do
a
too. Mhm.
21-year-old body. They sometimes
Yes.
forget that really in his mind he's about 8. And they lose their patience
Yeah.
sometimes
Mhm.
because it's loud.
It's loud. Uh-huh. Yes.
But it's good for me too, because then it kind of triggers me to go, oh yeah, okay, if we were out in a social situation, this probably wouldn't be as appropriate as
Right.
it is in our
In our home. Right. And so sometimes we
so,
have to those are
yeah,
things we have to work on, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, but I'll tell you, William has had amazing opportunities, and I would say if I had any advice to give parents, I would say don't keep them home
Mm,
because they have special needs.
right.
And
I will
people
agree. Yeah.
people aren't always gonna be nice,
No.
and they're not always gonna be understanding, and you have to kinda grow some thick skin sometimes.
Yes, you do.
He's had so many amazing opportunities because we didn't keep him home.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we're big travelers. In fact, we're headed to Texas, as I've told you, and we've been to every state in the continental US.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that my kids are missing Alaska and Hawaii, which they're definitely making plans for
Uh-huh.
soon. We've gone to a different state every year, and sometimes 2 and 3, and we kind of just lay out what we're going to do, but we don't leave William in the car or,
Right.
not have him
Yeah.
participate. And
Right. And I'm
it's,
sure like most
yeah,
autistic children, they need that routine. So even when you do travel, if you can say to them, okay, today this is our plan, this is what we're going to do,
yeah,
it makes it a little easier, I would think.
yeah. And I would say that's the thing. And then for William, visual schedules super important,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he loves knowing exactly what we were doing. I remember one time, actually, we were just on a little trip to Capitol Reef, and we had picked up our son. He was going to college down at SUU, and we picked him up because we're like, oh, we'll just do some things around,
Yeah.
Cedar, and maybe do some national parks. So we started at Capitol Reef, and we had gotten a room very near Bryce. And William just kept saying, take me to the queue, take me to the queue. And all of us were just trying to figure out what he was talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And when we got back to our hotel, there was a big queue on the hotel for it was Quality Inn or something. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, this is what he
Uh,
wanted. He wanted to go back to the hotel.
and so sometimes it takes a minute for the rest of us to
Mm-hmm.
come along, but he definitely has a voice about what it is he wants to do.
Yes.
So
And I think most kids with special needs, whether they can talk or not, they learn how to voice their opinion.
oh,
Very much so.
yeah, but I'm going to back up and talk about school for
Yes,
just a minute
please.
because, I'm a teacher. My husband's also a teacher. Well, I'm in administration now, so less in the classroom. But William had a really great experience at school,
That's awesome.
and I'll tell you, my first experience with Nebo School District, I was kind of taken aback a little bit, and I got to stay home the first till my last two were in kindergarten,
Mhm.
so I wasn't a teacher then.
Right.
So I remember the first year William went to school, it was not at our neighborhood school. In fact, it
Mhm.
was in Mapleton. And the
That's where
second,
Austin went.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the second year he went to school, they moved him to Riverview, which is in Spanish Fork. And we lived in Springville, so I'm like, well, what, I'm like,
Yeah.
you're moving the kids who need structure. What's behind
Mhm.
that? And I had a great conversation with Mike Larson was the over special education back then, and I said, "Help me understand. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
why,
I've always wondered that too.
why
Yeah.
you think this might be best." And I think it comes down to, like, they really do try to pair kids with who they think they'll be the teacher they think they'll be most successful with, and the
Mhm.
program.
Mhm.
Because there's, like, you hear the acronyms ACC and ECC, and it's a lot for parents to navigate to
Mhm.
know, like, what's the best fit for my child.
Right.
And it's always okay to ask questions and just be willing to say, "Hey,
Mhm.
help me understand. Tell me more." Because if you come in and just want answers, a lot of times there's a really good method
Right.
in place, and you just don't always know what that
Mhm.
is or
Yeah.
what or
Or
the
why?
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think that is hard. Sometimes as parents, we like, why? Why are they not at their local school? Why is there not a program at every school? But
Okay.
as we all know, there's funding, there's not enough to support one program at every single school and things like that.
And that's true. And they just try to, like, okay, we got to have a few on the north side, we got to have a few on
Mhm.
the south side, but ultimately it comes down to, like, what's going to be best for your
Right.
child. And they really do try to take the input from the teacher who had them before, and you're not going to love every single teacher you have.
No.
No, we
No.
didn't when we were in school,
No.
right?
No. Not at all.
But I would say I've had such good experiences. And when William graduated from high school, he sent a graduation announcement to every one of the teachers
My
that he
goodness.
had
I
had
love
over the
that.
years. And every single one of them either came to graduation or sent him a card. And
Wow.
I actually he was the one who knew all the names.
Yeah.
I don't,
Because
I
I
didn't
didn't
remember.
remember them all. Yeah. That would be me
But
too.
he has a great memory on that stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's amazing
it's
what they do
fun.
remember, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, I noticed
oh,
that with
yes.
Austin
Yeah.
too, like, the things that we recently went to Springville High School because they were tearing it down, and he could tell me where his classrooms were, and even the classrooms of where he went with peer tutors to, or things that he did, and I'm like, "I don't even remember that. How do you remember that?" You know?
Yeah.
So, it
Oh,
it's fun that they do remember those
oh, yeah.
things.
And it just I love that, once they kind of get to those secondary schools that they do get to go to their neighborhood schools and they
Mhm.
do have those peer tutors.
Right.
I think that's huge. It's amazing for the kids who are the peer tutors. It's just as amazing for our kids.
Yeah.
I mean, William in high school felt like a rock star. And I'd go to the school and they'd ask me who I was, and like, oh, that's William's mom.
Mm.
I was a teacher in the district, and a lot of people knew me, but I'm still William's
I
mom. Love
Yeah.
that title.
Yes, me too. I'm Austin's mom, and I love that title. Yes.
But I think that was amazing experience for him. And
Yes.
the kids loved him. They supported him. And so even now, one of my favorite things is they've developed this unified athlete program.
Yes, we were just
Yeah.
before when Austin was graduated, before they started that. I wish
Yeah.
we had had that then.
And it was kind of interesting because the first year they tried flag football and they tried soccer, and there really weren't a lot of teams. We actually went to Weber State to even, be able to play teams. But now almost every town has a unified team,
Which
which is
is
so
amazing.
amazing.
Especially
Yeah.
for us coming from Kate has always been part of my sports league for a very long time. And Williams played and Kendrick's played, and she's coached for me and helped me over all these years. And so I think it's really fun to see our kids who have had this rec league, and now they also get to play high school sports where they would have never been able to in the past, but now they get to participate in some type of a sport, not just being the water boy or, and doing captain or something like that. They actually get to participate in the sport, which I think is so awesome.
And I really like that they have different levels. So like this past year, I think Salem had 3 or 4 teams because they just so many kids are interested, and they have, they also allow kids who have graduated and are at the Bridges program, which is where William is right now, high school program. They allow them to be a part of that as well.
That is really amazing.
Yeah, because I think William's first year post high school was tricky because there aren't peer tutors at the Bridges program.
Yes.
I think that was the hardest challenge.
I've heard that. That was hard for us with Austin, and I've heard that from several other parents. And I wish that they could still have some of those peer tutors because they love that. Yeah.
Well, and they get to be they kind of get to be the star. Those peer tutors do a great job of that. And the unified basketball program kind of gives them a little taste of that because they still have to have a buddy. So they usually play 3 special needs kids with 2 buddies.
Okay.
So that makes it nice because a lot of times, like, William is a pretty good shot, but he can't dribble to save his life. So
Right.
so dribble it down, and then they feed it to the kids to shoot.
I love that.
And so he actually got to participate last year and this year in the Special Olympics, which was
That's really cool.
because their team won the state championship 2 years in a row.
Okay. That's really awesome.
So they got to play at the Delta Center, and
wow.
Oh, it was pretty incredible experience.
Yes.
So
I'm sure that would
was a
be
lot of
so amazing to do that.
And
Yeah.
so I just feel like don't ever like shy away from opportunities. We've been on trips before where we've had maybe people not be too kind, because shut your kid up or whatever,
Right.
and it's like, but I'm just never gonna keep him home. I'm just not that.
I'm not either.
So I want him to have every experience that we're gonna have as a family.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say my favorite part about William is because he's still 8, is he's a true believer in Christmas and all holidays. Then we always have to be careful starting new traditions because they don't go away.
They don't go away.
Well, no.
We have the same thing at our house. Yeah.
But that's also what makes it kind of fun because it still feels like I have a little kid at home.
Yes.
And
It is.
he's a big kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the same size as my husband. So.
Right. He is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's really kind of fun. It's like I feel like I'm forever in childhood.
Yeah. It is nice, isn't it? Yeah. And it's funny some of the things they still believe and some things that they know is not,
We're doing this because that's what we do.
This is what we do. Yes. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about Kendrick and how he's progressed and how that has impacted your life also.
Yeah, and having 2 was a little bit tricky.
I'm
And
sure.
but Kendrick he's kind of the opposite end of all the other of my kids. He's a math genius and wants to be an astro engineer, which he's working on right now.
That's awesome.
But I'll tell you the hardest part for Kendrick is how many times he had to go through treatment. So he did treatment for like I said, 18 months, and then I had a couple years of things were going well, and then a couple more years of treatment, and it just seemed like every time he went in to the doctor, it was like, "Oh, waiting for the shoe to fall,"
Right.
and it was a lot to navigate, and, so he's done a lot of things with mobility specialists.
Mhm.
I loved right before he graduated from high school, the amazing mobility specialist, at Nebo. She came to our house and picked Kendrick up because she knew he
Mhm.
was gonna be going off to college, and they took the bus over to school and navigated. She taught him how, I mean, it was one of those things I don't think I even knew it was possible.
Mhm.
Showed him like there's a disability office there. You can go in and take your paperwork from your physician, and they will help you with the equivalent of a 504 and IEP.
Okay. Mhm.
And because he's visually impaired, it's really important that the professors know, like, if you write in anything but black or blue, he's probably not going to be
Be
able
able
to
to see
see it.
it.
And it would really be helpful if he had a copy of notes. And so I
Mhm.
think sometimes when kids graduate from high school, because, they can always have those at school.
Right.
But I think when they graduate, sometimes they're like, okay, William's not going to probably have the opportunity to go to college. Although UVU has a beautiful program for kids who are autistic,
I've heard that.
they still have to progress at the rate of a college student.
Okay.
Now they actually have a peer that goes from class to class with them,
Mm.
studies with them, and things like that. But because William is only about third grade in math, that's not an option for
Option.
him.
Yeah.
But Kendrick, he's doing great. I mean, they've given him extended time for tests, and he doesn't have to take it. And sometimes
Mhm.
he's like, "Mom, I don't want to ask for that."
Uh-huh. Yes, that's hard.
But I'm like, just
Just
if you ask for, I've got to teach him to advocate for himself because
yes.
he can.
Right. And I
You
think
know,
that's hard sometimes for those
yeah,
kids who perhaps don't have an intellectual disability. They have more of a physical disability, right? And to be able to, just be their own champion and navigate and, ask for the things that they need is hard when you're a young adult.
yeah,
I think that's really, I mean, even somebody who didn't have those things, it's hard, right?
right.
To
Oh, for
advocate for
sure,
yourself.
for sure.
And I think as parents, we learn to advocate for our children. And we kind of had to learn that with special needs. But I think that's harder when it's something physical for those kids to learn to navigate.
Right. Well, and that was the tricky thing for Kendrick because he doesn't process visual information quickly. That's
Mm-hmm.
made it so it's not been possible for him to drive. We're
Yes.
hoping we can figure that out eventually, but right now that's just not an option for
Mm-hmm.
him. So he's, there's so many things that you don't realize how easy it is for us to navigate as adults
Right.
that you realize, oh, he's going to have to figure out how to get on and off the bus and know where
Get to
the
class
schedules
and
are, get to
yes.
class and get home or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's sometimes there's so many obstacles that we don't always think of that
Right.
I've had to really spend time like, oh, what are his obstacles? What do I need to think
Mm-hmm.
about? What do I need to help him navigate? So it's been kind of an experience.
Yeah, I bet.
Kendrick's number one issue is his um vision also affects his movement.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has a job and he's going to school. So I mean, if you just on glance,
Right.
you might think, oh, yeah, maybe he's an awkward kid, but he's
Mm-hmm.
actually not. He's actually super,
Yeah.
it's actually pretty remarkable the obstacles he's overcome because
Mm-hmm.
he actually, what we discovered through all of the treatment is he actually has neurofibromatosis,
Okay.
which is basically not really a cancer, but tumor cells grow on nerve cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so if at last count, he has about 200 little cafe au lait spots or tumor
Mm-hmm.
growths. And so it's one of those things where this is going to be a lifelong
Right.
challenge for him
Mhm.
and William too, but it's
It's different
different.
for both your
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. And I think in some ways for Kendrick, it's harder because he's not oblivious to
Yes. Yeah.
what everybody else is doing. Where sometimes William,
Yeah.
he
That's how
does,
Austin is.
he wants to live at home. He
Yeah.
wants to live with me. He
Mhm.
wants to
They don't
be,
quite
you know,
understand what peers at their age are doing as
Mhm.
much, and they don't really understand that they're missing out, which I
Right.
feel like sometimes is a blessing. right?
Yeah, 'cause,
Uh-huh.
every time someone asks William, "Would you like to move out with some peers?" He's like, "No.
No. Why
No,
would I wanna do that? I wanna be home with my mom and dad.
loving
Right.
and also makes me a little sad for him
Yes.
because I know at some it's kind of challenging.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
but for Kendrick, if he's not driving, that
Mhm.
is he recognizes, "Hey, I'm not getting this opportunity."
Yes.
And
I don't
so,
get to do
I think
this.
in some ways it's harder to navigate
Yeah.
as a parent because, yeah,
Right.
sometimes ignorance is bliss, but
Mhm. I agree.
sadly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yes. Well, tell us anything why as they were upcoming, that you wish you had done different, or that you want to advice you would give parents to in not just starting out in this world.
Number 1, don't ever not ask for help. I remember the first time I met you and we were actually I think it must have been basketball because we were standing in the gym, I think at Mapleton, maybe
Hmm.
Mapleton Junior High, maybe.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of walking me through like the DSPD and signing up for and I was like my mind was reeling because William was probably maybe 7 or 8 at the
Hmm.
time and none of those thoughts had crossed my mind at all.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to have somebody who had kind of been in it, already had a
Hmm.
special needs child who was a little bit older than
I
mine,
agree.
to like just
Tell you what,
ask
these
for
are the
advice.
things you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask
Right.
people because I think sometimes we're like, I don't want to ask my question. But
Right.
yeah.
Or yeah, I don't, I noticed that that child may have disabilities, but I don't want to, I hate to ask,
Yeah.
and I even to this day still am a little sometimes like, and I'm like, but I want to invite him to come play ball with us. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, just, get over
Right.
your fear and go ask,
Yeah.
and
And that's hard, and
it's
I
hard.
understand that piece, but it's like, there's so many things I wouldn't have known if I hadn't been willing to go, "Okay,
Tell me more.
tell
Tell me
me
a little
what,
bit more.
tell me about
Hmm.
this." Obviously, if your child has high needs, definitely ask your doctor, ask a friend, ask us,
Yes.
like, don't just suffer in silence, ask for help,
Hmm.
and I met a cute little couple probably about 2 or 3 months ago, and they have a 4-year-old special needs child, and it's kind of interesting because I first noticed them at church, and then, it was pretty obvious that he had some of the same characteristics as William. He
Uh-huh.
definitely had very loud echolalia, he did not wanna sit in his seat, didn't even William didn't have as many disrobing incidences, although showered in the yard a few times.
Oh yeah.
Hence the move to Salem, but
Yeah, well, that kind of comes with the territory, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But then they just kind of disappeared, and I just thought, oh, so I kind of reached out, and I'm like, hey, I want you to come meet William, and they were great. They came over, and I think it kind of opened up their eyes to kind of go, oh, okay. This I don't have to navigate this alone. And so
Yes.
now they've asked, you know, because like there's social security questions once they get a certain age, and
Yes.
there's like, do I really want them at my house for the rest of their life?
Mhm.
Questions because some parents may say, no, I actually am grateful to have him home. I also, if he said, man, I'd like to move in with my best buddy,
Mhm.
I would find a way to make that
Right.
happen for him.
I've heard from a few
So,
people that their children do move and live in some, in like almost like an assisted living
mhm.
facility, but for those with disabilities, and that they, can do really well in some of those settings if that's their desire.
Right. Well, like the Chrysalis program. I
Yeah.
know that program is totally designed. In fact, one of the kiddos that plays ball with us, I think, lives there, and I've heard her stories, and she's talked about living with roommates and how
Mhm.
fun that is. She drives, and she has a
Right.
job, and so she has a few more
She's a
bigger,
little higher functioning.
little higher
Mhm.
functioning,
And
but
that's the thing I think with
yeah,
autism and so many other disabilities, right? There's this broad spectrum from one end to the other and anything and everything in between. And
yeah,
so it's so difficult to know for sure when they're 4, right? Where are they going to be when they're 20?
right. Oh, for sure,
You just
and
don't know.
you can't
You can't
and,
predict it.
you can't plan for that, and it's funny because we think we have planned out our other kids' lives, but they have chosen their own path too, so
Amen. Yes.
so it's like maybe planning is a little overrated, and that's probably one thing I would maybe change a little bit
Uh-huh.
and just say, "You know what? Let's let them direct it a little bit more,
Mhm.
and go at their pace." But I definitely, there's so many programs. Just don't ever hesitate.
Yes.
It's like, um, William, because he's a little bit lower need, he has access to DSPD, but right now we don't actually need it. But my husband and I are getting older, so I'm
Mhm.
sure at some point our kids will need some help with
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
with his needs. And
Right.
so
And does he get Social
so
Security?
he does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so does Austin. And
he
that's something
does.
at like
Yeah.
18 that families will need to apply for when their child turns 18, usually with that childhood disability, and
Right.
whole other ball game, right? Of
Well,
applying
and
for
there's
that
yeah.
and Medicaid and but DSPD, you want to get on that wait list early because
Right.
the wait list is really long. So if
Really
you
long.
are listening
Years
and
long.
you are not on the list yet, get on the list. Reach
Yeah.
out. I am me. I will send you a link of how to do that.
And honestly, I love the Utah Family Center.
Yes.
It's really helpful. I mean, we knew we needed to get guardianship. William was about 17, and we're like, oh, let's just go find out. Let's
Mhm.
get some information. And actually, because you don't have to hire an attorney, you don't have
Yeah,
to
it's changed
pay
a lot.
the huge fees that we had heard that might
Mhm.
be the case. They actually walked us through the paperwork. They actually sat down. We made an appointment and just went up there, and they actually walked us through the paperwork entirely. And then all we had to do was file it with the court.
That's nice. Did you have
And
to have an
so,
attorney for William?
no,
Not anymore. Okay,
not
because you used to
no.
have to have an attorney
Mhm.
for the child to represent them.
Right.
But
And that might depend on if they can speak for themselves or
yes,
not.
you're right.
But we had lots of documentation from our doctor, gave us a
Mhm.
great letter, kind of item, go running through his whole full diagnosis and
Right.
what his, kind of, because she knew him probably
Better than
better
it's almost as
than
well as you
yeah,
do sometimes.
yeah, she just knew a lot about his diagnosis, and also the psychologist from the school, she was
Mhm.
fantastic. She spent quite a bit of time testing William and doing the ADOS, which if you have an autistic child, I recommend you ask for that test.
And what is that called
So
again?
it's called the ADOS.
Okay.
It's an autism diagnosis test. They
Okay.
didn't used to give it through the school district. In fact, when William was diagnosed, the district did not test for
Yeah.
autism, and you had to have your diagnosis elsewhere,
Elsewhere.
and
I
it was
remember Austin
expensive.
was about 5th or 6th grade
Mhm.
when we did autism testing, which he didn't test on the autism spectrum. He
Interesting.
acts like it a lot, but I think
Uh-huh.
a lot of neurological impairment children, there's a lot of the same overlapping.
Mhm.
He has bad ADD, and so a lot of autism and ADD can overlap in
Lap.
the middle with a lot of that attention issues and,
Right.
things like that. And so he always just had that higher ADHD diagnosis. And maybe now, if we
Interesting.
were to test him now, maybe he would fall on the spectrum a little bit.
Yeah.
At 32, it's
Yeah.
not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he has a diagnosis that helps him navigate life,
Navigate life.
and
So we're
I mean,
good.
sometimes the diagnosis is what helps you get the
Yes,
services,
it is.
and so it's like,
Absolutely. Don't be afraid.
don't be
And I
afraid.
think sometimes people are afraid of being labeled or having their child getting a label put on them. But I think that's one thing because for so long with Austin, he had epilepsy, but we didn't know why. And for many, many years, that was an unknown cause, right? We had no idea. We didn't have a diagnosis other than he had epilepsy. And because of his epilepsy, he had developmental delays. And that is in different hard too,
Right.
because you don't know why they're doing it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting over the years to watch as more knowledge has become. We've done more testing. Genetics is now so much more involved,
Yeah.
much more be able to do that. It helps.
Mm.
And as families are younger coming into this, don't hesitate to ask for that testing. I
No.
agree. It's worth getting the testing done
Yeah,
so
for
that they can
sure.
get the help that they need.
And I remember some person, well-intentioned person, and I love her dearly, said, "You know what? You do not want to pigeonhole your child with a diagnosis. He is definitely going to grow out of this. I've seen it before." And I'm like, "Great. If he does, great.
Great.
I will be
Great.
so happy."
I will be
He did not.
thrilled. Yeah. Yeah.
He did not. And I'm so grateful that we're like, "Oh, well, I just want to make it possible for him to get whatever services
Right.
we can get him."
Right.
So,
I
because if
agree.
he catches up, great. And if
Uh-huh.
he doesn't catch up,
then
I want to be prepared.
yeah, and we
So,
wanna give him the best chances that he has.
mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But as far as like, the programs out there, so workforce services, another really good,
Mhm.
once they get a little bit older, if they're capable of having a work experience. William got to do that. Unfortunately, William doesn't do well with multi-step commands. One step
One step
sometimes
at
is
a
a
time.
challenge.
Yep. Challenge. Uh-huh.
Yes. And so working's probably not going to be an option for
Mhm.
William long term. And
Mhm.
we're hopeful. One thing, he wants to be a teacher, because we both are. And
Right.
so I've talked to some friends and they're like, why don't you let him come and read stories to our unit kids, or
Mhm.
come into first grade and read some
Just kinda be
stories
an
during
aid.
this
Yeah.
time of the day. And
I
I'm
had
like,
a I
yeah.
had a friend,
So
one of my mom's best friends, her son had Down syndrome, and he was pretty high functioning, but that's what he did in Nebo School District for years and years, is that Shane was an aide in one of the special needs programs, one of the lower programs with the wheelchairs, and he would push the kids in the wheelchairs, he rode the bus with them, the bus picked him up, he rode the bus with the kids and was an aide, and he retired from the district with a pension, had insurance his whole and that is a big tribute to his mother, who was
right.
very highly involved in special needs
Yeah.
and spoke out a lot about in his early years, he was at, Oak Ridge in Provo because that's where they went. He was close
Right.
to he was older than me, so he, was in grade school in the '70s and '80s, and so that's what they did then. But
Right.
I do
Mhm.
think that that's a great opportunity that maybe William could do. No?
I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
But
that would be
and
awesome.
and if at some point he's able to do that and not need Social Security, great.
Great,
But in
but
the
we're grateful
meantime,
for that.
that's
Right.
super helpful.
Yes.
Uh, a lot to navigate because,
Yes.
guardianship and Social Security and work
Mhm.
experiences,
Yeah.
there's so many things
Right.
to
There's
navigate.
so much to navigate, I feel like, in the early years of
Yes.
diagnosis and getting them the proper help they need and getting them through navigating school. And then they become an adult, but it doesn't stop there.
No.
And then we have to navigate all the adult things and go with that. And so, like, that's one reason I wanted to start this podcast is to just really be able to tell our stories to families because there's so many stories. Your son with autism is not the same with the next person with autism. My son with epilepsy is not the same with the next person with it. And we don't get to tell our story very often.
That's
So
true.
that's why I wanted to start this.
Yeah.
So I love it.
I love it. I love being
Yeah.
a part of it because I just think, like you said, every kiddo is different. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's funny because we know that about all of our own kids. They all
Right.
come with their own stuff, but then sometimes when we get a diagnosis, we're like, okay, well, he's like this. Well, every kid,
Hmm.
especially autism spectrum disorders, well, actually, all of
I
them.
think all of them.
All of
Right.
them. Like, I have a sweet friend, her, grandson has a seizure disorder, and his looks very different than I've ever seen before
Hmm.
because his is like it looks like he's laughing. And
Yes.
so it took him a while,
To diagnose that.
to even
Yeah.
figure out what was going on, and
Hmm.
that's actually problematic.
Yes. Right.
So
It's not cute.
but
It's really,
it's not
it's cute,
cute.
but it's really a
It's
problem.
causing some brain damage, so
Yeah.
we gotta
Yes.
get some treatment. And
Right.
so I just thought, wow, it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is.
Hmm.
It's just how it's the thing that helps you get what you need.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
whether it's at school, whether it's post high school,
Yeah.
that and I sometimes that feels like heavy.
Right. It does. It's
Just
not always
so
easy.
no,
This is special needs parenting is often very difficult. And there is joy and there is hardship at the same time.
it's
And
true.
I think that's something I think we would say to every parent is to remember
Yeah,
that there is good times and there's bad times. And it is not an easy road, but we are all here to support each other and love on each other and help in any way we can.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell us today?
No, I mean, I could go on for days because there's just
Yes.
so many stories, but
I
I just think, enjoy the moment. I know there are times that are going to be hard. I remember, carrying William kicking and screaming from Target because he wanted another ball because he
Uh-huh.
had a
Yep.
ball fetish,
Mhm.
and there are going to be days that are hard
Yeah.
and it seem like it's impossible. Surround yourself with people who are in your corner
Yes.
and, uh, and just try to enjoy the moment. I mean, not let the hard that it is overtake you.
Yeah. I love that. not let the hard overtake. I like that. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Kate, for joining us
same.
today. If this is resonates with you or someone you know, please share this with others and let us know what you think. Have a great day. Bye.